One of the hardest truths men have to face in relationships is realizing how a woman can leave you without hesitation, without a backward glance, like you were never even part of her life. It's one of the coldest experiences a man can go through. One day she's holding your face in her hands, telling you that you're the love of her life, that she can't imagine a future without you, that you're her safe place and her everything. And then almost overnight, she's gone. No drawn-out explanation, no last fight, no desperate plea to make things work. Just silence. Indifference. Distance so sharp it cuts you deeper than any argument ever could. It feels like a stranger has replaced the woman you knew, like her body is the same but her soul has vanished. What stings even more is realizing that she didn't leave when she physically walked out. She left months before. She started slipping away in silence, in subtle ways you barely noticed. She began detaching the moment she stopped valuing you, the moment she stopped feeling that spark of admiration and excitement she once had. And by the time you finally recognized the change, she was already too far gone. That's the brutal reality men wake up to. We tend to think a breakup happens in the moment she says goodbye, but the truth is, by then it's already over. The actual goodbye happened long before, in her heart and in her mind. The door didn't close when she left, it closed quietly months earlier, without you even realizing it. That's why it feels so sudden, so merciless. Because while you were still holding on, still believing you had time, she had already mourned the relationship, rehearsed her exit, and convinced herself that walking away was her only option. Women rarely leave in a storm. They don't slam the door in a moment of rage and vanish forever. Instead, they leave quietly, piece by piece, until the version of them you knew is no longer there. It happens so subtly that most men don't notice it until it's too late. At first, her texts grow shorter. She stops using the little emojis she once filled your phone with. Her replies take longer, her tone feels colder, and you tell yourself she's just tired or busy. Her patience with you starts to thin, but you excuse it as stress. She laughs less at your jokes, her eyes don't light up the same way, and you convince yourself it's just a phase. What you don't realize is that she's already slipping away emotionally, quietly packing her bags in her heart while still sleeping in your bed. The signs keep multiplying. She no longer asks about your day. She no longer brings up plans for the future. Birthdays, anniversaries, the little details she once obsessed over, suddenly, they don't seem to matter to her anymore. You sense her enthusiasm fading, but you ignore it because you want to believe things will bounce back. You convince yourself love is strong enough to carry through these dry spells. But she's already rehearsing life without you in her head. She's already imagining how it feels to laugh with someone else, to feel understood by someone else, to be alive in a way she no longer feels with you. So when she finally leaves, it doesn't feel like heartbreak to her, it feels like relief. She's been grieving you in silence for months, mourning the relationship while you still thought it was alive. That's why her exit feels so final, so cold, so sudden. It was only sudden for you. For her, it was already over long before the door closed. Most men don't recognize the truth until it's staring them in the face. They confuse her presence with commitment. They think that because she's still coming home, still sharing the bed, still wearing the title of girlfriend or wife, it means her heart is still in it. They believe that the years, the memories, the sacrifices guarantee some kind of loyalty. But that's where men make their biggest mistake. Women don't stay because of history, they stay because of how they feel in the present moment. And once those feelings shift, once the spark fades and the respect begins to die, she is already halfway out the door. When she finally leaves, most men panic. They chase. They beg. They write long messages reminding her of every memory they shared, every promise she once made. They try to remind her of the love that held them together. But here's the truth, none of that matters anymore. She's not living in the past. She's not replaying the early days when you were exciting, mysterious, and full of potential. She's living in how she feels now, and right now, she feels done. When you beg, when you plead, when you make yourself small in front of her, it only confirms her decision. In her eyes, you've become weaker, less of the man she once admired. The begging kills the last ounce of respect she had left. What men don't understand is that women don't fall out of love with strong men. They fall out of love with men who stop leading. Men who lose their edge. Men who become too predictable, too reactive, too accommodating. When you fold, when you try to win her back by giving more of yourself, by proving your devotion, you only push her further away. And once she sees you like that, once she sees desperation instead of strength, there's almost no way back. That's why her leaving feels so brutal. It's not just the end of love, it's the death of her respect. When a woman finally leaves without looking back, it often feels heartless to a man. It feels like she threw everything away as if the memories, the love, and the years meant nothing. But in her mind, it isn't cruelty, it's survival. She can't afford to keep one foot in the past because if she does, she risks getting pulled back into something she already decided was over. That's why her exit feels so clean, so final. By the time she walks away, she has already cut the cord in her heart. She already cried the tears you never saw. She already mourned the loss of what you had while still sitting across from you at dinner. To her, the goodbye happened long before her body followed through. That's why she can move on so quickly while you're left broken. It's not that you meant nothing to her, it's that she spent months convincing herself you no longer could mean something. She buried her emotions so she could detach without guilt. That's why she can smile on social media as if nothing happened, why she can block you without hesitation, why she can act like you never existed. It's not that you never mattered, it's that she made herself believe she couldn't let you matter anymore. For men, the pain comes after the goodbye. We start grieving when the relationship ends. We replay every memory, every moment, looking for answers. But for women, the pain happens before. She questions herself late at night, she wrestles with doubts, she pulls away in silence. By the time she finally walks away, she's at peace with it. That's why her exit feels cold. You're still bleeding, while she's already healed. You're stuck in the middle of the story, and she's already rolled the credits. When she leaves without looking back, you're left standing at a crossroads. You can either collapse under the weight of her absence, or you can use the pain as fuel to rebuild yourself. This is the moment that defines a man. Most men, driven by heartbreak, spend weeks or months chasing ghosts. They send messages, scroll through old photos, replay conversations, and beg for closure that will never come. But the truth is, you can't argue her back into loving you. You can't guilt her into respecting you. You can't remind her of the history you built together, because in her mind that history has already been buried. The only way forward is to stop looking back. Her leaving is a brutal lesson, but it's also a gift if you choose to see it that way. It teaches you that you can't build your world around her emotions. It teaches you that a man's strength must come from his mission, his discipline, his self-respect, not from a woman's presence in his life. Once you accept that she's gone, you start to understand the importance of building a life so grounded that no one can walk away and take your sense of worth with them. And here's the irony. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you accept her silence as the answer, that's when many women start to question themselves. That's when the doubt creeps in for her, when she wonders if she misjudged you, if she underestimated you. But by then, if you've done the work, you'll be different. You'll be stronger, colder in the disciplined sense, untouchable in ways you weren't before. That's the hidden power in her leaving. She thought she broke you, but all she did was force you to rise into a man no one can break again.